The show must start. Hey, were you able to hear any of that? Let's do this again. Okay. Okay. Now understand that there's a little bit of a delay here. Oops. Okay.
Like to be Pope. That would be my number one choice. No, I don't know. I have no preference. I must say we have a cardinal that happens to be out of a place called New York who's very good. So we'll see what happens.
President Trump saying they
There we go. There we go. Oh. Now, let's get into it. So, I apologize for that. We lost probably a little bit, a little. We kind of lost a little bit of viewers. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
there that he wants to be Pope and starting a brand new news cycle where guys like Lindsey Graham, to his 2.2 million followers, say, I endorse Donald Trump as Pope. I was excited to hear President Trump was open to the idea of being the next Pope. It would truly be a dark horse candidate, but it would ask the papal conclave and the Catholic faithful to keep an open mind about the possibility. The first Pope U.S. president combination has many upsides. Watching for white smoke.
Do you want to know what this would mean? Do you honestly know what this would actually freaking mean if the You want to know what this? I can't say it. Do you know how amazing this would be if, and only if, and I'm gonna crank the microphone a little bit more to, like, do you not understand? This would be so freaking incredible if this happened. Why do I say this? Oh, well, because he's this, that, the third. You want to know what's absolutely insane is that how much of the world's issues we know that Israel has its issues, if you know what I'm saying. If you know what I'm saying. So I mean, yeah, so I apologize for the little pregnant pause there. Yep, sounding like a rookie already. But I'll get the hang of it, so shut up. All right? If this were to come to fruition, I swear to you, he's gonna not just clean house here, everyone. Do you not understand that we might want to blame? And I understand in a small way, the boomers are actually at fault for hoarding all the wealth. But do you not know how much money and how much is in the V in Rome, in Italy? It's essentially the high and mighty's bank account. We want to blame the crown for stealing all of the resources and having all that stuff in the Tower of London. And even though that has merit, even though that has a lot of merit, we also need to understand that a lot of this chaos that goes out in the world is from the V. And if we had I'll say his name. If we had Trump in the in the V area, in the Roman headquarters of the freaking world, he is clean. He's gonna clean house. That's what I'm gonna ask, and we need to do a reading on this. We're gonna do a reading on this, on what the effects of Trump being Pope here, because this is very, very, very freaking amazing if he absolutely becomes this. We're talking about the EBS, right? We're talking about cleaning house. Well, if we want to clean house, it's one thing to clean house in your country. It's another thing to clean house on the planet. That's regarding the entire planet. We want to talk about how much how much the US is putting up is paying Europe for all these wars. Yet that little small section of Rome cannot put up one freaking penny? Of course not. How much do you want to bet that's where all the money is going to? Alongside with Ukraine. Ukraine just has the paper money. The V, they have the hard copies, man. The hard serious coins. But so let's see what else. But it is corrupt AF over there.
Yes, that's what he would this be Trump's Pope name? Look at all those numerals. There you go. Donald Trump as Pope. Could it potentially happen? Graham jokingly asked conclave Catholics to potentially put Donald Trump in as Pope. We're going to get down to the brass tacks as to who can become Pope and how this all happens. But yeah, a long shot certainly is what you would call it. Yes. Trump says he has no preference for the church ultimately chooses the cardinal out of New York. He's talking about Timothy Dolan, who's extremely base. His remarks come as the Catholic Church sets to decide who the next pope will be in the coming weeks. Pope Francis died at 88 of a stroke.
Could you imagine? Like, do you not understand, everybody? What the dominoes are slowly but surely falling. And this is exactly why the DS is losing its freaking everlasting mind. It absolutely is just going complete freaking bonkers. Why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell because it is sorry about that. So I sincerely apologize. That is very unprofessional on my behalf, and I nag and then I nag on people for doing stuff to me when I'm like on the phone with them. I know I'm a hypocrite. Deal with it. No, I do my best not to be a hypocrite though, because oh man. But could you imagine? Could you imagine if this freaking happens? Could you imagine if this happens? This is the genesis of the EBS that I'm presuming. We want to say it's going to come in 2025, 2026. It might come later. all of this royal stuff, all of the freaking XRP, XLM, and the gold standard stuff, you have to understand I'll just say what it is. The Vatican controls all of that. And once we should we're going to do another reading on that as well, on what this means for the EBS and what it means for XRP and what it means for all of that. Just the rest. Oh my God. But do you know what this is awesome.
On Monday, Catholic Cardinals set May 7th as the start date, so that's next week, as the conclave to elect the next pope. They said today is the first day of the informal meetings, delaying the secret vote. We don't know when the secret vote will actually be, when that little white smoke will be. Only cardinals under 80 are eligible to vote, and it's not clear how many of the 135 cardinals will elect to participate. Trump did travel to Rome. Was that too?
Selling your car to Carvana is easier than you think. In just seconds, we can give you a real
advertisement
offer for 7 days. Here's how. First, input your
to campaign for next pope. Trump jokes he'd like to be pope. Number one choice. That names a real contender.
Even if it as a joke, which is absolutely hilarious. That would be so freaking amazing. Could you even imagine this guy? I'm not gonna go. Let's go crazy hypothetical here. Could you actually imagine Trump becoming the prime minister of Israel? I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but that'd be freaking crazy. He goes from president, then he cleans up the Pope, then he cleans up the wars in the Middle East. If he can't do that, oh my God, this just the thought of that is freaking insane. But hey, never say never.
Contender, Trump and his Catholic wife Melania were at the funeral at the Vatican. Trump endorses New York Archbishop for the next pope. Cardinal Dolan is extremely based and would be a great option. I mean, why the hell not? Listen to this.
Disappointed. We were looking forward to giving the vice president an enthusiastic welcome. And we were confident that she would find this. You know, she speaks very much about the high ideals and how it's good to get away from division and come together in unity and all. Well, that's what the L. Smith dinner is all about. We haven't given up yet. We're not used to this. We don't know how to handle it. This hasn't happened in 40 years since Walter Mondale turned down the invitation. And remember, he lost 49 out of 50 states. I don't want to say there's a direct connection there. But so we're not used to this. And we're not giving up. You know who's been a help to us, Lauren, is the Senator Schumer and Governor Hochul. They both are working hard to see.
No, they're not. Do people not understand that the Democrats want to dismantle God or any higher being? Why is that? Because under a democratic, at least heavily democratic, even communist or socialist regime, the government, there is nothing, the government and politicians, these cronies, the laissez-faire capitalists that they collude with, they are your God. There's nothing beyond you. They need you to make sure They need to make sure that you have no sense of self-empowerment. And the fact that this crazy jerk, I hope I'm not mishearing him. The fact that there are people in Rome that are okay with just that are okay with that kind of effery going on just shows that P45, now P46, he is now, he's contemplating this because it's no longer what it should be. He wants to clean house because whatever the V is doing right now, and that is not short for a woman's lady part, if you know what I mean. That the V in Rome is completely out of line here.
He convinced her to come.
So there's still a chance.
Yeah, Senator Schumer said to me, he said, I don't think she made the decision. I think her schedulers are saying she can't make it. So we're not giving up. We hope she's there.
Here's Carl Dolan and Donald Trump. He's very famous New York bishop, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, Roman Catholic Archbishop of New York. Disappointed that Al Smith didn't attend. That Kamala Harris didn't attend the Al Smith dinner. He sat silent as President Trump. Actually, didn't sit silent. He was actually clearly having a great time. Live's going to live. So I don't know. That would be very interesting. First New York Pope. I'd like to be Pope. Trump jokes from the White House.
That's not a joke. That's really not a joke. And if it is, it's a Freudian slip. And I'm not saying that he wants to be ruler of the world or anything like this, but he knows the effery that's going on in the world. And he's sick of it, as everybody should be.
Trump wearing this white and gold hat to remind us of the dangers of him becoming the Pope is slim, but never zero.
You want to know what's crazy? This would not shock me if people are saying, "Oh, the white hats are working with a P47 with Trump." Yes. I mean, and let's say if that is way out of line, he's marketing the white hats. He's saying that it's here. We are along the side of them. If not, they have let me become the speaker of the speaker for them. Now that sounds so freaking crazy and so freaking insane. But the thing is that we need somebody that actually has the balls to flip the bird to these people, predominantly boomers.
Wow, talk about tweets. This tweet from last week. Talk about tweets that aged correctly. Man. And now Donald Trump says he might be Pope. I mean, look, the white and gold hat. You never know. Trump jokes that he'd like to be the next Pope. Those are losing their minds. I like to be Pope. That's my number one choice.
Again, the wealth distribution. Could you freaking imagine the wealth distribution if he actually became that would be freaking amazing. And let's say hypothetically, if he kept it down there or he distributed it to the Middle East, if you know what I'm saying. Not saying he would do that. But then then I would call him a fraud and con man and anything that these lefties are calling them. These crazy commies. Maybe he's maybe he's fooling us. Maybe he's fooling us to get onto his side and then do a 180 like he did to the Democrats. Maybe this guy is just a wild fox or crazy wild fox. We don't know. But thus far, it would actually be kind of awesome, in my opinion.
Left is about to lose it. Now the popes are going to be elected out of the Catholic cardinals. Donald Trump is not that. It wouldn't be the first time in Catholic Church history that you've had a big time outside candidate to be pope. There's been many schisms. There have been many fights over who can be pope, who's the real pope, so on and so forth. History is littered with them. This would be quite an outside shot. Trump should run for pope. Life tenure, no risk of re-election, being stolen by fraud. Great real estate, the best. Melania would be GOAT, papal first lady. Vatican missing out on the indulgence, income, real opportunity for the next pope. Vatican already has a great wall. Good point.
Now, I will tell you this. And this may not be the proper model that I would go for, which is the Roman model, the Republic, and all this stuff. I would actually we'll get into another thing which I believe P47. I believe Trump should actually adopt this instead of Rome. The Roman Empire does not have a good rap here. It's failed several times. I should say, well, at least once. And I understand 47 is trying to be the next Caesar, but or he could be, but I think we're gonna end on something that's a lot more promising and actually lasted almost 3 times longer than the Roman Empire. We'll actually get into this. This is going to be a very, very interesting. And it won't be a short one. This might be or actually we'll get this down shorter actually. But let's continue.
Here you go. What's the Vatican would look like under Pope Trump?
Oh my God.
I'd convert to Catholicism. Great Wall. Good point.
Let's see that again. That is so fantastic. Even though it's an AI generated thing, the concept is hilarious.
Here you go.
Master of trolling. That is so funny, man.
What's the Vatican would look like under Pope Trump? I'd convert to Catholicism if Trump were Pope. Okay. Trump chose, I want to be the next Pope. Trump as Pope. My entire timeline is littered with AIs of Trump as Pope. Vance visits the Pope. The Pope passes away. Trump talks about being the next Pope. Trump definitely had Vance kill the Pope so he could be the next Pope. Yes. All right. How do we get the next Pope? Here we go. This is the breakdown, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the long shots. Again, history of the Catholic Church for 2,000 years is littered with papal controversies.
Could you actually imagine? I mean, like this is most likely not going to happen here. Well, it can't if for the most part. But could you imagine if 47's one of 47's kids or grandkids actually ends up being the next Dalai Lama? I mean, the stories of Barron. I don't think Barron took that test. I'm not going to go as far as to say that just yet, but could you imagine if P47's bloodline actually leads to being one of his offsprings or offspring of offsprings be connected to the Buddhist temple? Now that would be freaking hilarious.
And battles for who is the true Pope. And definitely some dark horse and outside shots becoming Pope. So I guess never say never. But as you can see here, it would be quite the long shot. Here you
go. That could be possibly the next Pope. I don't know what this stands out to you as. It's not exactly Thursday's NFL draft. We've had a chance to look at all of them, and their pluses and minuses at an Indianapolis Superdome. But what stands out there, the region, one thing we can comment on the region.
Oh, my God. Really? With all due respect, these look like just cronies. They would continue what the Pope was doing. They will not change anything. They would actually continue the chaos and the scuzziness that Pope Francis was doing for years, if not decades. I actually call me crazy. I actually would not mind if the Pope was just outright didn't exist. I know that sounds like an atheistic thing to say. It really isn't. It's just I don't think bishops should be ruling anything. They can be influencers and they can actually help. They can help be like priests and and leaders, you got spiritual leaders and religious leaders, sure, but actually be part of the world leadership. I mean, I'm kind of hesitant when it comes to that. To be quite honest, you know. So yeah, yeah. Anywho, let's continue.
Region do you think we're most likely looking at?
Anyone who tells you they know who the next pope is or they have a pretty good idea is absolutely wrong. Now, yes, of course, there are leading cardinals in the sense that they are more prominent. But let me tell you, what's going to happen, Brian, is the cardinals that are under the age of 80, also those who are over 80, they will go to Rome, but only those under the age of 80 will vote, right? There's not that many of them.
Just over 100.
138.
Yeah. Boomers rule the world. Boomers rule the world. They want to keep it that way. Too bad nothing is forever. Nothing should be forever. Not in the physical plane, because everything is forever in the metaphysical plane. Your soul is forever. And these people should not be focusing. You should never. You should always focus. In my opinion, what helps you grow your soul, grow your spirit, and if it's Catholicism, any kind of Christianity, even if it's Orthodoxy, Buddhism, anything like that, you need to do something to help grow your soul. Help do shadow work and help ask questions, because a lot of people these days do not ask questions, and they ask for permission because everyone, I should say, not everyone, but a lot of these people, including atheists, communists, you name it, they take God out of the equation because they want idiots to be their God. And you should never let another mortal be your God. You should let your higher self be your God. Find the strength that makes you go above and beyond, not just what is. Let's continue though.
I believe right now, they will be the only ones voting. And many of them don't know each other.
All right.
Right. So they're going to go to Rome and they're going to have meetings and everyone's going to have a chance to stand up and say what they believe is the proper direction of the church. People will be watching them. Then they will all begin to talk and they will meet in restaurants in Rome and in hotel rooms, and they will begin to discuss, who do you like? What about this person? And they will be talking about then 5, 6, 7, 8 people. When the cardinals walk into the Sistine Chapel to make their first vote, which will be probably about 6 days or so after his funeral, which could happen probably at the end of this week. When they walk into the Sistine Chapel, they will not know.
Yeah, I know. It says Fox News. Go fuck yourself.
Who the next pope is probably going to be. Mm-hmm. They will take a first vote. They'll see who gets the biggest numbers of votes, and then they begin to say, who's my second option? Who's my third option? Who is actually realistically able to be elected given the diversity of the College of
And
Cardinals.
the whole white smoke, black smoke thing?
That's so cool, isn't it?
Right.
You
white
like that.
Smoke is we got a pope. Black smoke, we got to keep voting.
Wow. Wow. That was something else, wasn't it? That was actually kind of awesome. However, this is what, in my opinion, this is just my opinion here. I honestly believe that we should not take after the Romans anymore. We should actually be taking after the Egyptians. We should be taking after Ramses. I did, and I'll tell you, why. My best friend. This was years ago. We went to a Ramses the Second exhibition in a museum. Fantastic, wonderful. Learned so much and was exposed to so much. And what was absolutely insane and crazy is that they had politics that lasted 2000, not 2000 years. They didn't. The Egyptians didn't. Their formula lasted. Their empire lasted for 5,000 years. 5,000. More than twice. More than twice than ancient Greece with their with the Byzantine Empire and Greek Orthodoxy and all that stuff, and the Roman Empire. I don't think we should be back to doing Roman Empire stuff. There should be an upgrade. Because back then, under Ramses, women and men were seen as equal. No one was above there. There was no patriarchy. There was no oppression or any social buzzwords that we're talking about. So let's actually get into this. This is, I gotta say, no one really talks about no one actually really talks about this kind of stuff, especially in this community. We all talk about Lemurians and the Roman Empire and the crown and this, that, and the third, the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans, maybe even some shamans and stuff like that, but none of us really talk about the Egyptians. Why don't we touch on that? We're gonna be it's and I'm not gonna drag you through like the 2-3 hours worth of all of this. So let's go over. And I want to ask everybody in the chat, should we adopt these politics? Not the Roman, not the Greek. He's not this democracy or republic nonsense. Should the United States adopt the Ramses? This is going to be awesome. All right, everyone ready?
I've said it before and I'll say it another 1,000 times. Egyptian history is long, and a lot of people have been pharaoh over the centuries, but no one quite embodies the role like Ramses II. During his rule in the 1200s BC, he fought a lot, built a lot, and had a lot of kids.
Which I think, because of the population collapse and the much needed we just need a new formula. The United States feels very hopeless. The West feels very hopeless because of this debauchery or this debacle of modern politics. So what I'm saying is that I believe that we should actually look into the United States should be looking into the Ramses formula here.
The most striking of Ramses' traits, and possibly his greatest achievement, is the sheer length of his reign over Egypt. He ruled for 66 largely internally peaceful years and lived to be 95. He also had over 150 children, which must have made for some fantastic Father's Day parties. He was around for so long he ended up outliving many of his own kids. His reign is essentially the American equivalent of if John F. Kennedy continued to serve as president all the way up until Obama's first term, but first took office during World War II. That is a long time for someone to be in charge, but to his credit, he really made it count. Ramses was born just 30 years after the appalling reign of the polytheistic party crasher Akhenaten, who tried to single-handedly convert Egypt to his wonky monotheistic cult.
This is making me think. Is the United States actually going to adopt this? Are we going to put aside this democracy and republic and actually embrace a Ramses or like this Egyptian formula? Because this sounds absolutely amazing.
Ultimately didn't work, but he succeeded in trashing Egypt's diplomatic partnerships and sending the economy into a downward spiral as a result of all that money he spent on himself. I know it's ludicrous to imagine such an outlandish scenario, but bear with me. His successors spent most of their time trying to get the kingdom back on track. Ramses' father, Seti I, campaigned in the Levant against the Anatolian Empire of the Hittites, attempting to reassemble the provinces that had largely been abandoned by Akhenaten. At this point, the young Ramses was serving in his father's army, learning both the tricks of the trade and the importance of actually paying attention to Egypt's northern territories. And speaking of, a trophy that the Egyptians and Hittites regularly captured and recaptured from each other was Kadesh, a city halfway up the Levant, just out of the way enough for both that neither civilization could ever really hold on to it particularly strongly. So owning Kadesh became the go-to muscle-flexing contest of the era. It offered few strategic benefits, but it just happens to be at the edge of both of their frontiers, and it felt really good to have above all else. We'll get back to Kadesh in a little bit, but first we have to take care of the pirates. Oh yeah, Egypt had pirates too. I mean, dude, come on, they're always pirates.
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where you can do whatever you want.
Mind you, we want to talk in the truther community about Babylonians. This is not Babylonian. This is not the Babylonian BS. We need a break from that. I would say that even though Babylon was in Egypt, or at least in the Middle East, that doesn't mean that Ramses was part of that. But let's continue on with this.
So when the young Ramses II became pharaoh in 1279, his first challenge was to protect Egypt from the Sheridan Sea Pirates. They're often categorized as one of the many mysterious sea peoples, but I do not have the time or patience for that conspiracy-laden barrel of worms. What matters for our story is that Ramses used some pretty clever tricks to bait the pirates into an ambush of his own. Once Egypt was safe, he incorporated the Sheridan pirates into his army's royal guard, because I guess he rolled a 20 on his persuasion check. In the following decade, our boy Big R got to work in Canaan and the Levant, corralling his holdings and fighting the Hittites. And the biggest thing to come out of this is Ramses' battle against the Hittites at, where else but Kadesh. Now, historically, this is pretty neat because our source for this battle is this gigantic relief structure commissioned by the centrally featured Ramses himself, and it paints a particularly praiseworthy picture, but the truth surrounding the story of the battle isn't quite as glorious as Ramses.
By the way, even though I'm showing this and pausing this a lot, and we're kind of like reacting, kind of getting an understanding of what might be the future of the West, which could be this. believe it or not, I mean, let's just. I mean, let's see what happens.
Ramses might have it seem. So let's take a look and see for ourselves. First off, Kadesh is by far the best recorded Bronze Age battle that we have, so there's a surprising amount of detail for something this old. We even know down to the organization of his army. And while there's a lot that I could unpack here but don't particularly want to because I'm lazy, the most notable feature here was the hottest Bronze Age tech around. Chariots. They allowed one or more dedicated archers to ride along with the horse while the driver took care of the pesky not crashing business. They were essentially used to poke at both the infantry and the other chariots, quickly engaging and disengaging while kept it light and quick with minimal armor and only one archer, whereas the Hittite chariots opted for the tankier double archer heavy armor combo. Was that the Hittites could tear through a formation, but they were super slow and not very maneuverable. When Ramses went about actually marching for Kadesh, he happened to have some really bad intel, so he not only got ambushed and chased back towards his camp, but he also almost died in the confusion. The Hittite chariots were doing their job fantastically and making Swiss cheese of the Egyptian infantry, but then the Egyptian chariots swept in from behind the Hittites to do their job fantastically. The surrounded Hittites broke and ran away in an attempt to recover and stage a comeback, but the Egyptian reinforcements arrived just in time to ensure that no such shenanigans occurred. The Hittite army then got kicked all the way to the Orontes River at the edge of Kadesh, where most of it was killed. Now, on paper, this sounds like a pretty resounding victory for Ramses.
Does that not sound like what is kind of going on right now? At least ethically. Dude. Dude. This could be the direction of the West. I'm not saying it will. And I wouldn't say bougie, but the elites are not going to want this because it actually does bring a lot of power to the people, a lot of power to just wow. Actually, do you know what's crazy? There's a crazy I just came up. I don't trust the Guardian, but believe it or not, this is I'll post after this video. We're gonna get over this. We're gonna go and read this this article. I just saw this. This is seen so. Just wow. Will will dude. He's practically a god amongst men. And how after you're getting shot multiple times and surviving them. This is of course, no wonder. He's the Matrix breaker. He's the and I can't believe the truther community is not making these connections. I apologize for not continuing on. This internet is acting a little bit strange. But do you Okay. Sorry about this silentness. Now it's getting a little freezy here. The internet's acting up. And 1, 2, 3.
Ramses. Things went bad at first, but through some clever tactics and the effective use of technology, the tide of battle turned, and the opposing army got made into the first recorded instance of raspberry jam. But the broader picture isn't quite as one-sidedly heroic. And honestly, in history, it rarely is. So, winning the battle of
Ah! What? We got disconnected, everybody. It's crazy in here. They're coming after me. They're coming after me. I don't know how much longer. I'm pulling the veil. We're pulling the veil. What does that sound like? Even though there isn't that much compromise going on, what does that sound like? Sounds like the Abraham Accords, or at least the attempt of this. Sounds like the attempt to end that European BS going on in the East, if you know what I'm talking about. Oh, shoot. Give me a second. There we go. Unless if they're not going to try to unless if they're trying to hide me. You can't be serious. I'm sharing my screen. Huh. Weird. There's nothing coming back, and there's here. Hold on. Oh, You see how that weird disconnect, that glitch? They're trying to. We're getting hacked, everybody.
Ramses was many things to his people. He was an effective leader, a strong commander, a skilled diplomat, a long-lasting and stable king, and he didn't try to single-handedly overthrow the Egyptian pantheon like our old pal Akhenaten did. What more can you need? It's probably not a stretch to say that his reign marked Egypt's last true golden age in the dynastic period. As far as building projects go, one example of his handiwork is his capital of Pi Ramses. When he was busy campaigning in the Levant, he wanted to keep administration close to the front, so he made a new city in the eastern Nile Delta. This was a decent ways away from the traditional capital in Thebes, so it showed some well-placed confidence in the efficiency of his government.
There was also Thebes in Greece.
In other art news, all the way up and down the Nile, temples that Ramses didn't even build displayed his statues and name, which were sculpted in deeper relief so that no one could screw with it later, which was a recurring problem in Egyptian history. Ramses actually had the opposite effect. Instead of subsequent pharaohs writing their own name over his, 9 later kings cut out the middleman entirely and just named themselves Ramses. He, more than probably anyone else in Egyptian history, left his mark in stone everywhere. He also carved a temple out of the side of a mountain because he's a badass. I mean, think about the message that sends.
Who does this sound like? Who does this sound like that might come to fruition?
Anything, anywhere, even if I didn't even build it, could be a temple to me if I wanted it to be.
That's me, driving through the country. New vacation home, newly expanded business. I know what you're thinking. This only happens in dreams. Actually, it happened for me with help from a Wells Fargo Premier team.
Ready to meet the dream team? You can with Wells Fargo.
They're coming straight in. Trust me, I've got nothing.
That is awesome! After one last fateful game of duel monsters against presumably Anubis himself, Ramses died at the age of 90 after almost 70 years of rule. In the millennia after his death, Ramses became known by his Hellenized name Ozymandias, and in 1818 he became the subject of the famous Percy Shelley poem of the same name. It tells a second-hand account of a colossal statue lying broken in the sand with an...
I met a traveler from an antique land who said too fast and trunkless legs of stones stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well, those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things that hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear: "My name, Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look up on my words, ye mighty in despair. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch away." Wonder if that was supposed to be a poem.
Inscription made to hype up the king's many accomplishments, yet in every direction nothing remains but the level desert. The message here is pretty clear that no matter how grand Ramses was in life, time undid all of his accomplishments and emptied all of his glory. And I mean, on the one hand, yes, time wears away all things, and yes, it is very poetic, but also it's been over like 3,000 years and we still know this dude's name, so I'm personally feeling Ramses on this one. But looking at what we actually have about Ramses, in a way, he still stands above and apart from the rest of Egyptian history. He had a huge family, almost 200 of them, lest we forget what must have been the constant sound of smooth jazz emanating from the royal palace, but it was never really a source of intrigue, unlike, say, for instance, the entire rest of royal history anywhere ever. Even now, we can only really ever view Ramses at a distance, and that perception of him that we have is largely.
Isn't that kind of hilarious how even when we touch stuff from like Game of Thrones, no one really touches upon the mastery of the Egyptians, nor the Greeks. Maybe the Greeks a little bit, but not as much as the Romans.
The same one that his subjects would have had of him 3,000 years ago. As far as we're concerned, he might as well have actually been a 7-foot-tall statue. He's unique in that he completely disappears into the role of pharaoh. He's like Julius Caesar or Alexander the Great, but without all the personal drama or posthumous fanfare or endless what-ifs that came after the fact. Perhaps the most amazing thing about Ramses is that he always was, and still always is, the same Ramses. When I look at Egyptian history, and it is a long history.
Translation, he didn't sell out. He was always the way he was. He was authentic.
Ramses isn't just a pharaoh. Ramses, to me, is the pharaoh.
Now we might actually touch upon this kind of stuff later on. Whether or not 47 might be they actually might be on to something with this. But what you want to know what's crazy is that even the Guardian touched upon this possibility in 2016. Check this out. Ramses the victor of Kadesh, a kindred spirit of Trump. Much like the president-elect, Ramses knew that bombast can have some outweighed truth, and his tale of triumph and battle Kadesh is a perfect example. In 1274 BCE, near Levantine town of Kadesh, a miracle occurred. Ramses of Egypt isolated destroyed the Hittite out of the 2,500 chariots attacking him. Not one survived. Look at that. They're trying to. It's bogging down. Page unresponsive. Is this page being banned? Hey, I didn't publish this. I didn't even write this. I'm just reading it. It's crazy. The pharaoh subsequently threw countless enemies into the river, only sparing the Hittite and a mighty fix. Yeah, I would say I'm pronouncing it Salier the third. Papyrus Salier the third. I wonder if that's where the word papyrus comes from. I mean, like that's where paper comes from. After the Kadesh campaign, the pharaoh used these texts to portray himself as a archetypal glorious commander. by the enemy. These works appear primarily on a royal architecture, such as monumental temples at Abu Simbel, Karnak, Lug, Abiyo. Encryptions were designed for an eternity, and the detailed reliefs accompanied them meant that even illiterate majority. Illiterate majority could understand. Meanwhile, the poem was also circulated on papyrus, allowing the story to travel rather than being confined to mobile monuments. Thus, Ramses did everything to spread the word to everyone, from humble peasants gazing at the temple walls to nobles enjoying court poetry. Considering how many copies of the Ramses approved narratives were produced and how many remain preserved, it is unsurprising that they are still the most famous treatments of the fatal events of 1274 BCE. This is rather unfortunate, as careful examination of architectural evidence and lesser known texts has shown that this official line is not even an exaggeration. It creates victory out of defeat. Let's see how, because this is a kind of a long story. Let's see. Let's see. I guess it's not as long. We just another few paragraphs. In his accounts, Ramses claims that the victory gave domination over the Levant. If so, we might expect to find traces of Egyptian rule that Levantine sites of the 13th century BCE, for example, Egyptian style artifacts or encryptions. However, such sites invariably produce texts in cuneiform scripts of the Hittites and Mesopotamia, while the poetry, architecture, and cult-oriented items are also distinctly un-Egyptian if the Egyptians did conquer this area. Okay, so let's scroll down. I don't want to bore y'all. How does this rope-a-dope into 47? Oh. Nonetheless, by comparing the Hattusa letters with the Ramses sanctioned poem of the official record, we already get a remarkable insight into royal propaganda. The narrative designed for internal consumption was fiction molded around a kernel fact. The pharaoh was indeed cut off from his army. He did face a chariot onslaught, outnumbered, and he did inflict casualties. He lost, but so what? As politics continued to show, even dubious achievements can become triumphs over significant amplifications and trumpeting. I mean, like, even for an outlet, there are some parallels there. They didn't exactly show why that was. However, However, that was there might be some merit to that. I don't know. You let me know what you let me know what you think. And I actually might change the title to that, believe it or not. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Everyone, you can say what you will or suggest what you will, but we need to do we should be doing a reading about what's going on right now here. Don't worry, YouTube. This is just Sage, okay? Shasta Sage, especially. So, let's all see what's going to come from the near future 45/47. Hey, so it's okay. Neither am I technically. It's just no, but I'd like to I'd actually at least like to bring you on and give you some thoughts on this. We might actually have a. I know nobody's watching right now. Not as many as not as many. No, you look wonderful. Yeah, no one's watching. There were 3 viewers that are here, but I don't care. This is gonna catch wind on it, and if it doesn't, yeah.
How's it going? What did you find out so far?
Well, I'm actually going to I actually wanted your input on that. The beautiful possible occasional co-host might hopefully she becomes the co-host. She's awesome with her. And but yeah, so I mean, what? So I just want to reading on this. If this is legitimate, but I also want your input on the on what it's going to mean if 47 actually does become pope. What I actually said. So what I actually said. Oh, come on, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful full look on you. It's all lavender.
Let me see. Hi.
Hey,
I have no makeup on, so
it's not needed.
And my dog needs to get fed. It's feeding time for him.
Yeah,
I
but
got tangerines. And I got more tangerine juice.
so is because what I because if you watch the stream earlier when I was streaming about that and I was dealing with technical difficulties. What's crazy is that I honestly think that that could end up being the case after his presidency because I know even though he's because I know that even though he's even though I know he's Christian and into Catholicism. Maybe I don't know if he. I don't know. I don't know if he is. I mean, like a lot of people are saying that he's an UJ, if you know what I'm saying. But I do want to. I actually do want to say that if he becomes pope, my thoughts, and I'm going to get more clarification, is that everything that is that's when ultimately RP and talking about is actually going to come to fruition if that happens because the Vatican isn't the Vatican like where all the wealth is hoarded and everything where all they keep, isn't it? That's kind of like the DS's bank account, believe it or not. I would imagine. What's your input on that?
Anything's possible.
Well, I mean, but why? But what I'm saying is that why you guys? Yeah, that's why I'm asking you to come on and pick your
Right, I just
pick your.
feed him first because he's been waiting to get dinner.
Okay, that's fair.
Do they see Apollo?
No, this is from a laptop.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a doggy in the house here.
He is a giant.
He's a Cane Corso, which is a Roman breed.
That's right.
So it actually kind of fits.
You want my input of?
So yeah. What's the intake? I'll the mic levels a little.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said.
Actually.
Oh. Okay. Hello. Like I said, anything is possible. At this point, pretty much anything is possible. Sorry, I have no makeup on. Sometimes I just don't wear any. I don't know why I do that.
It's not needed, and plus the camera, there are like various filters, and plus it's not the most. It's not the most
But
Good.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't first see anything like that, but when I saw that post that he made, and I'm sure I just figured it was satire, to be honest, but I don't know. Nothing. I wouldn't put anything past that guy.
He did say initially he said that but like, let's not forget, like I would say the 80s and 90s when he was interviewed, he said that he was not interested in being president.
That's true.
And then what happened?
Things just got fucked up, and he has kids, he has grandkids, and he's thinking about what is their life going to be like when I'm gone, and he's seeing who's in charge, and he's like, no way, I am not going to fucking let this happen. Bullshit.
Yeah. And I also want to ask you, to be honest, I do want to ask you what do you think, even touching upon some stuff like yesterday, what and I actually might think, and I actually touch this on a future episode. I might have you on as a guest if you want to. But I do have a concept of like why that the boomer generation is so iffy or like antsy on Trump, and just like,
I don't know.
Because I mean, they're the biggest
he's
hoarders.
a boomer himself, so it's weird. You would think that they would be, with the whole hippie thing. I mean, I know that Trump is not a stereotypical hippie, so to speak, but
he does put up a lot of those talking points, though.
Exactly, but the things he supports is what I would think hippies would be behind, so it confuses me. And I know the mainstream, lamestream media has made him out to be like he's fucking Adolf Hitler, some bullshit like that. And I don't know. I mean, I've talked to people who don't even think Adolf Hitler was really that bad, but I'm not even going to comment one way or another on that. But as far as I know, he was not good. Okay, I'll just put it that way. From what I know or what I've learned about him and studied and heard, although I did meet a person who met him once, and I mean, he's on his way out. He's a silent generation too. He's like 94, 90, almost 95. He's a cool dude. His name's York, and he grew up during that time. And he actually met him and Ava Braun, and he was a boy at the time, but he said he remembers he was a nice guy, and I guess Ava Braun, gave Hitler. I guess invited him and his uncle, who was a soldier, and some of the others at his house. I guess what happened was
and not to interrupt, by the way, YouTube, do not freaking take us down just because we're not praising this guy.
No. I'm just kind of
a little backstory.
Yeah, it's a little backstory. Someone I met who met him, I guess, and he didn't say anything bad. He was a real sweetheart. She served him hot chocolate. She was just your nice, normal woman, not sexy or anything, but just very good host.
She was a 5, but she had the heart of gold, and What do you say? You're a 10.
Oh God, no, please. Not right now. But
No, it's for the it's just for the it's for the show, and yeah, come on, it's just like for freestyling.
okay. Well, yeah. I guess what that tells me is, what I think about him. If I were to just try to tune in, I really think he thought he was doing the right thing, because he got to remember the guy had some trauma growing up. I don't know exactly what happened verbatim, but I've heard some stuff over the years. And also, as I understand, he was mentored by somebody who was actually very anti Semitic. So he wasn't always, AH was not always anti Semitic, from what I understand, but he became that way maybe through some experience he had, but it was a mentor that really got in his head. He was actually mentored by someone. And I think in his heart of hearts, he really thought he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I was he doing the right thing? Absolutely not. No, it was psychotic. It was horrible. It was psychopathic. But I think in his heart of hearts, he was so brainwashed and convinced he was doing the right thing. I really do. Now would he
Kind of
about himself? I doubt it, but
kind of sounds like the Democrats, because I mean it is actually is it is actually reported. Let's no less that's who he modeled his the laws after, was the Jim Crow laws. He plagiarized the Democratic playbook of the 20s. So all of you leftoids who are trying to erase history.
Well, the thing with the left is that, okay,
The new left, at least.
the new left. The thing with the new left is that, they hate Hitler and stuff, but you see them now and they're very anti-Semitic. I mean, what are all the protests in college and stuff? They're harassing these, if you're Jewish, they demonize the Jews now. It's disgusting.
Communists hate Jewish people, believe it or not.
Kanye, is feeling that flame. And at first I was kind of on board with Kanye, and then I get the whole Hollywood thing, okay, but and I'm not in Hollywood, so I can't really comment on that, but we know that a lot of those who run it just happen to have Jewish names. I'll put it that way. Are they real Jews, fake Jews? God only knows. I don't. But offense about Kanye. However, the way that I see him treating his wife is absolutely disgusting. So Candace Owens, if that's your friend, if that's somebody you respect, I kind of question you and your character, to be honest. He's not exactly a prime example of what kind of person to be, because on treat his wife like a lady. I mean, come on. She's the poor thing. She kind of reminds me actually of an ex I was with when I just turned 20 at the time, and he kind of reminds me.
Oh, this is delicious.
And it actually, I just want to beat the shit out of that guy, to be honest. I think he's just a perv, and
you too. We don't condone violence, but no, every certain it is.
chill out, you two. My God, people talk. You're like,
they vent, they do all this kind of stuff. But I mean, like, I understand that you can see, you can, I mean, but I understand, but I just have a thought. YouTube, yeah, of their cronies. YouTube gets all butthurt. Tax the millionaires and the billionaires, except for the billionaires that we're funded by, and the billionaires that we kind of support. Yeah, go after all the fucking billionaires that don't align with your fucking politics. And by the way, YouTube, I don't know. I mean, it's a small channel, and we're probably gonna get suppressed, which I don't care. But you want to know something? I mean, like, you all anti-Semitics, go fuck yourselves. We don't condone any kind of hate of any sorts, unless if you are a something that the Vatican is kind of known to do. Cough, cough. If you're one of those people, and it's PERV, if you know what I mean, then you can all go straight to hell, because you ain't no child of God. None of ya! I ain't child of God, and they're trying to get us out of God! God! Trying to eliminate us out of our lives so that way they can be our God. There is no God, but we have the God powers. We have the power of abortion. We have the power for you to bang anything that moves. And we have the power to tell you when to sleep, how much money you make. That doesn't sound like God. Right?
yeah.
We tell you whether or not what is true. Oh. Yeah, I ain't buying that shit. Anywho, let's get to the reads and reads and reads.
Reads and reads. Okay. I think you're going to like this. Put this back for you.
This is the greatest channel. It's even greater than Light Warrior Network.
Oh, no, they're great. I love Light Warrior Network.
This is a lot more better. It's the greatest. It's the greatest.
Oh, geez. Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't have the potential to be. Okay.
I said it. And if that pisses people off, get freaking unwad your panties. You bunch of.
We're goofy. We're goofier. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, because I mean, like, in my opinion, you do need to be theatrical, but and stuff like that. And I don't. And okay, you know what? Let me tell you. tell you this. I'm not scared to say this out loud. The reason why, you got more personality. You need more personality. Stop being so freaking jittery and sensitive. And oh my God, someone thinks differently than me. And then you freaking say, oh my God, they're such trolls. They're trolls. They don't agree with me whatsoever. Shut up. Anyone who it's like, dude, that's how you get to the truth. Different perspectives. 7 cards on you peeps. So, is P47 actually legitimately looking into being the commander and bishop? The commander and priest. Let's see. The puppy. Oh, wow.
What?
First thing is the death card.
That's transformation.
Transformation, like the death of the current Vatican.
Uh-huh.
Or I said the V, but whatever. Fuck it. I said Vatican. City, 1 of Cups. So Ace of Cups.
Oh my God, that's a yes.
10 of Cups.
Yes, that's a yes.
Queen of Cups. A lot of cups here. We're getting the yes. 10, death. Then the Ace of Cups. 10 of Cups.
You got an ace. That's a hard yes.
Okay. Yes. I mean, shout it, girl. Queen of Cups after the 10. And again, I'm doing 7 cards. Page of Cups.
Okay, maybe it did.
7 of Swords. And one of my favorite cards of them all, the Sun.
Oh my God, you got an ace and a sun. Shit.
Holy shit balls, everybody. After his presidency, looks like this is actually going to come to fruition. He just said I'm going to be Pope. No, and I'd like to be Pope, and it's like, bro. Yes, he is gonna try just a little bit harder to be a Pope and get rid. He's gonna try just a little bit harder to get rid of the deep state. Fudge. Everybody. It is the death of the freaking world as we know it. This stupid apocalypse is gonna be gone, and this is exactly why the FBI is up your ass. The FBI might be coming after me, but who cares? They don't like the truth. Yeah. I don't care. They can't handle the truth, but the truth always prevails. Justice always prevails. So, Italy, you be on. You better be ready. You better be ready, Italy. That is a solid yes. And you want to know what else is a solid yes? The fact that the show has come to an end. Please, thank you so very much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Even if you think we're nutty. Even if you think we're nutty. Subscribe. All right. We'll see you next time.